Hi, everybody, and welcome. I am so excited you're here. I am Aleeza Ben Shalom. I am the marriage-minded mentor. I have a whole team of coaches, and our main goal is to help you to get over your hurdles and under the chuppah. And we live for that. We love that. We are just like, we're here. We're all yours. This is Sarah Zoldan. I say Zoldan. We keep...
Yeah, but you know what? I just realized you said shalom.
I said Ben Shalom, because we're moving to Israel. The accent really goes on the last syllable. You know, I've been saying it wrong all these years. I haven't even been saying my own name right.
Well, I don't say my own name right, so I say Zoldan instead of Zoldan.
Okay, it's Sarah Zoldan or Sarah Zoldan. You can decide what she is, but she is here, and she has been with us also since the beginning of all of our webinars, just like Carly, who's in the chat box. And we are so happy that everybody is here with us. Today's sponsor is the Jewish Latin princess. Do you know who she is? No. Who is she? I've never heard of her. She's phenomenal. Yael Trush, and she knows everything about money. She has a special surprise for you, which if you stick around until the end, or you're going to get the email, we will give you the link to her money date worksheet, which is like amazing. Besides like question, answer, true, false, it has like a money Mad Libs. Yeah. Right. Who
legit, it's so good. I used it when I was dating, and I'm so happy. I don't think she knows this. I don't know if she knows who I am, but shout out. I use your money. I forgot what it's called, but I use
Money Date. It's called Money Date.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal, and we're going to give you the link to that, so stick with us. And here we go. So when and how do we talk about your financial future with your special someone, or your future special someone, or your maybe future special someone? Can we talk about money on the first date? Do we talk about money on the second date, 6th date, 10th date? Okay, forget about date. Like, at what point in the relationship do we bring up money? The answer is, it's a very Jewish answer. You know, there's like 25 different answers, and I'm going to give you a bunch of them right now. So one answer is sometimes it comes up in the very beginning, right? You go on that date, and at the end, you know, like, I don't know, maybe you look at each other and you're like, you know, you want to split the bill. That might be the first time money comes up. Okay. Don't say, do you want to split the bill? Don't do it. It's not my thing. The Aleeza thing, take the ladies out. You want a lady? You're going to be a gentleman? Take her out. Take it. Don't ask to split the bill. And if she's like, no, I'll get half. No, really, I insist. She's testing you. That's a money test. Did you know that? Do you know how many men I've worked with? And they all tell me, they're like, but she said, Aleeza, she said, you know, like, do you want to split the bill? Like, or I'll get it. I'll do half. It's fine. No, I want to. I insist. And you know what the girl said to me on the other side? She was like, can you believe it? I said that and he accepted it. And I was like, you can't do that. Don't set him up for a fail. Don't offer something and then say, well, you know, he would have treated me if he really liked me, if he cared about me. Why would he do that? Don't do that, ladies. We sometimes do these like little mini tests. Not okay. Okay. This is the first time money sometimes comes up. First date, second date, third date. We're talking about a bill, splitting a bill, doing something. I'd much prefer, gentlemen, on a first date, a second date, take her out. A third date, take her out. You guys like each other enough to keep going. And she says, you know, I really want to plan the next date. It's my treat. I got this. Okay. After you've gone out a bunch of times, she wants to do something special. I'm okay with that. That's totally separate. But I've also had some men at the very end of that whole thing, like she put it, and then he's like, no, I got the bill. And she's like, no, it's mine. And he's like, nope. And can I tell you, brownie points, like major brownie points. And it's, I can't explain it. I can explain it. I'm doing that now. But it's this psychological thing where you want to take care of, you want to be taken care of, and money plays a part in this. And it's more about the gesture. Like, forget about the money. You wanted to do that for me. You probably like me enough that you wanted to do that for me. Wow. Right? So forget about the dollars and cents. This isn't about the dollars and cents. This is about, what does this signify and what does this mean? I don't want to hyper focus on this taking you out for money, but Sarah, yes?
I know this isn't something you talk about a lot, but as a millennial and as someone who appreciates splitting the bill, could you talk a little bit about why like you've said to the men, take them out. Can you explain to the women why they should let men take them out? Because it was something that I had to learn, and I really appreciated that you taught me that. But can you talk about that a little bit? Because it is a thing, especially for women who have, who have a little bit of feminist energy in them. And I think that's a good thing, but just explain the psychology a little bit of why we should let them take us out.
So yes, I want to do that. And also, it has to be done the right way. So I'm not just saying you grab the bill and you're like, no, I got this, I insist. And like you get very, yucky about it. It has to be like very gentlemanly. Think like 1950s, 40s, 30s, like think like dapper, kind of man, like somebody very, with a little elegance and style, and like, no, I got the bill, like one of those. So the reason and some of the psychology behind this is that the way that we develop love and connect to another human being is through giving, right? And so for a man to be able to take a woman out, right? One way is to take her out, to maybe drive, pick up, drop off, pay for the date, right? Those are ways in which he can give. You could say, oh yeah, but a woman could do that too. She can, but women also give in other ways. We know probably women spend much more time preparing, we pull ourselves together. We go all out. Maybe we get our hair done, or maybe we get our nails done, or whatever is important to us. I'm not telling you to do any of those things. I'm just saying if those things are a part of your routine, statistically speaking, women spend more on clothing, hair, and pulling themselves together than men do. And we spend more time on it. So it's not the money, we do spend money, and we do spend time on prepping ourselves to be ready. And also we're very emotionally ready and available. And so we often give by having the conversation, by drawing somebody out of their shell, by creating this energy between us, right? We're putting in. How many ladies, do you feel like you put in on dates? You put a lot in, don't you? And then everybody says, but what is he doing, right? I do so much. I don't see so much on their part. And then we go and we take the bill out of their hand. No, I got this, right? You can't take everything and then expect somebody to actually care for you. You have to give somebody a place to give. I did see a comment that some women have gotten really insulted or upset if you insist and they really want, and like this, right? So if you encounter somebody that is so firm in their belief and you are shaking them to their core and they're like, no, I insist, right? Okay, probably to get a second date, you're going to have to split the bill. But the one that's like a little in between, and I'm not asking you to play a guessing game. That's kind of the hard thing. Like, Aleeza, how do I know if she like really means it or if it's a test for me? You kind of have to like say, I'd really like to take you out. Would that be okay? Ooh, entice her to let you take her out, or say, listen, you don't owe me anything. Even if you don't want to go out a second time, I still got the bill. I'd like to take it. I'd like to take you out. Right? Like, it's okay, Sarah.
Yeah, that's such a good point. I think a lot of times, especially on a first date, a lot of times the reason that a woman will offer to pay is because she knows it's not going to go anywhere. Like if she feels like it's not going to go anywhere, then
she might offer to pay.
Then yeah, like you said, it's really.
And wait a minute. If she's in between and she's thinking maybe it's not going to go anywhere, and you offer to pay and you do it in a very gentlemanly way and you say, no, I really like, whether you want to go out again or not, this isn't like, I'm not buying your time. I enjoyed spending time with you. I would like to take care of this date that's important to me, and I'd like to take you out. And, like, it still wins points. And maybe that'll be what tips her over the edge and goes, I was kind of in between. I was kind of neutral about you. And now, like, I do want to see you again. Wow. You treated me well. People like being treated well, taken care of. They like feeling like you want to see them. You want to do something for them. So in that way, there's a certain gift that you could bring to the relationship, which is the gift of connection. And it does bring a little bit of an element of romance, of something like, I take care of you, you take care of me. That's what happened when we get married, right? Like, either I'll do this for you, you'll do this for me. We're not just splitting everything, right? There's this give and this take. And so that's why I said, if somebody is going to pay, or if you want the lady to pay, so like, let her pay for the whole thing, plan the whole thing, do it. It's different than if you're just splitting. I don't like splitting. Splitting a bill like this is like splitting the connection like this. Gone. It's just not there. It's not supercharged.
You said in the event that you are going to pay, let him pay the whole bill, and a different time you pay the whole bill. It's
Right.
different. It's you're treating the other person versus
Right.
this is like an arrangement.
Right. Right. Okay, so now we spent, yes. Second thing.
I feel passionately about this. So 2 things. Number 1, I just want to offer some like a woman's perspective on why someone would insist on paying. Not to say like I still like what you say about having the man do it, but as someone from before I learned that from you, it's not a power struggle. It's not like, oh, let me do it. I can do it. I'm independent enough to do it. It's more like, this is typically a man's thing. I know it's a funny thing, but it's kind of like a test. I never formulated like this thought until now, but it's almost like, is he manly enough to step aside? Does that make sense?
If you pay a full bill, you mean?
Yeah.
It has to be done in the right way, and
100%,
most women, from
100%.
the majority of women that I've spoken to, it comes after like date, like maybe 4,
Yeah.
5, 6,
Yeah.
like he's already into it, you're into it. We know there's something there. Once we know that, okay, now I want to buy in more, and I want to show that I really want to do something.
Yeah. And then there's one other thing that you told me that I love, and I literally tell my friends all the time. You told me that and this is for all women who are listening, if you don't let him take care of you, he's going to go take care of someone else.
Right.
Because that's his way of giving.
But also for women, your way is of taking care, but you have to sometimes give and take, right? There's a give and take, because if I'm always giving and you're always giving and nobody's there to receive, you're not building your relationship. And the whole point is to build your relationship. Recently, I was working with a client who may or may not be on this webinar, and I was told that the lady, after several dates, took him out, and she basically just called him and she's like, yeah, I got tickets to go somewhere Thursday night. You good? Like, she even bought the tickets before confirming the actual day that he was available, right? And he's like, and going to do something that they both wanted to do. And he was like, yeah, I'm in. And that's awesome. Like, and it was such a nice feeling. And then each one got to take care of the other one at a different time. So don't try to time it simultaneously where you're both going to pay for the bill. Time it differently. And in the beginning, I like that the gentleman pay. There's a certain gentleman thing to it. It's the word gentleman. It just comes with the territory. Okay, so now we heavy loaded on what to do in the beginning and finances and things like that. But talking about your financial future, now I want to jump to the end of the story. Maybe you get into a relationship, or you're starting to get into it, and you're thinking, gosh, either I come from money, or I don't come from money, or they do or they don't, or like, what do we do? Do you have a house? Do you have a car? Do you do you rent a place? Do you own? Like, what's your story? And like, if this thing is going to work, so what's our life going to look like? And when do you start to have those conversations? So again, 25 different answers. There's many different ways to approach this, and it really depends on the level of connection that you have. Right? For some people, a first date, a second date, a third date, a fifth date, they're still in a little bit of neutral territory. I'm still trying to figure out if I like you. We're not talking about finances if I don't actually know that there's something more significant than that. If I'm still trying to figure out if there's something here, then I'm not in the place of actually knowing that this is something, and I don't need to talk about money. We don't need to confuse everything. It doesn't matter. Because money can make or break something, and we don't want to make something that's wrong. And we want to break it based on all these other details first. Okay. If you're at the point, and some people get to this by a second date, a third date, like early on, it doesn't have to go significantly further down the road, where they're like, well, like, oh, you're, I don't know, a doctor, a resident, you're in school, you've got loans, you've got like, what does your financial future look like? Like, if mystical magical land, I wave a magic wand, if this were to go somewhere, what would we do? Where would we live? And would we have enough money for a house? And what kind of debt do you have? And at what point do you share these things? So I just got asked this question the other day by a matchmaker who was working with a couple, and they were both in, like, there was something nice that was there, and they were kind of heading towards Chuppah, but not just yet, but they were Chuppah minded. So it's kind of like just before you're really going to be chuppah minded, that you want to have deeper conversations and get into it a little bit more. It means that I like you enough to have this conversation, but I'm still not all in and gaga over you that I can't think rationally when we start to have this conversation, right? So that's why I'm saying this could be a third date for one couple and it could be a 23rd date for another couple. And it really depends on what community you're in, how quickly or slowly you date, how common it is for you to talk about money. Also, if you're somebody who's into finances or comes from wealth, you might be more comfortable talking about it. And if you struggle with finances, then it might be something that you're more uncomfortable talking about. So we all have, and you'll see on this money date worksheet that Yael provided us, that we all have a different experience of money, and how we speak about it and how we think about it is very different. And so having this money date worksheet that we could work through together, or I could do on my own, and then some parts of it we could do together, is also a really great framework for when you want to have this real type of conversation. So the short answer to like, when do we have a big talk, is somewhere in the middle of our relationship status, right? I'm not questioning if I like you. I do like you. I don't know if we're going to get married, but I like you enough to say I like you. I don't want to date anybody else. I'm focused on you now, but I'm not close enough to getting married and to asking you to marry me that I can't think straight and that my judgment is going to be impaired. Are we good so far? Okay, great. Okay, so now let's just talk about families, parents. Let's talk about weddings. Let's talk about big expenses. And we're going to talk about this because you are getting married. Okay? You. Every one of you is getting married. When's your wedding date? I don't know, but when it is, message me at coach@marriagemindedmentor.com. I want to know you're getting married, because I know you're getting married. I just want you to send me like I'm getting married. See, you said it would happen and it did. Send it to me. Okay. You're getting married and you're going to have to talk about some big things with lots of people. So now money between you and your girlfriend or boyfriend or whoever you're dating is going to be like one thing. And money, when you start involving parents or families, it's another thing. And it is not easy. It is usually complicated. There are sometimes prenuptial financial agreements. There are sometimes family money that is in a trust. There is sometimes no money and $200,000 in debt, that when you get married to them and your names go smush like this, their debt goes smush like this with your name, and it all is a part of one big family. And so now, can you feel the energy of the conversation? And now it just got really, really heavy. Got so heavy. Oh my gosh. You have debt, and when I marry you, you mean it's not in my name, it's in your name, but like, what if you weren't here? Then I'd be left with your debt. And how does this work, right? We're going to slow down for a minute. So we have to just know our own finances, right? If you're not good with QuickBooks, or you're not good with an Excel spreadsheet, or you're not good with numbers and it's not your thing, get somebody who's good with it. Either hire somebody or have somebody in your family who might be good with it, and be able to have a real conversation. Okay, we're going to get married. Now we got to talk about money in a wedding. Who's paying for it? Who's paying for which part of the wedding? Oh, your side supports this and your side supports that. But hey, traditionally the groom's side does this and traditionally the bride's side does that. But hey, we don't have the money to do that, or you don't have the money. So now maybe the other side, and now they're upset because they're paying more. So they get more people at the wedding. Did you know about that one? We get 100 and they get 250 because they're paying more than we're paying. It's only fair. You hear where we're going? Like, makes my skin crawl. I cannot stand these types of conversations. They're extremely difficult. Number one, the two of you, whoever the two of you are, must be like this, like glue. You've got to be stuck together. I do not care what happens in the world around you and the chaos that happens. The two of you, that's it. Nobody is going to make you crazy about money. Nobody. You know why? Because when they do, I take my side, you take your side. And now what happens? Oh, we sided with our families. How close do we feel right now? and not at all close. It doesn't work. It's extremely difficult. So the couple themselves has to let the families duke it out. You let them do it. Let the parents talk to the parents.
There's
Elope.
such a good comment. So many
Yeah.
reasons to just elope.
I saw it pop up.
That's good.
Yeah. So a lot of people let the parents duke it out, and sometimes, believe it or not, the matchmaker or somebody comes between them to be the mediator for the families. Somebody's asking right now about second marriages. Second marriages, if you thought a first one was hard, let's try a second one. Let's throw on a few kids from both sides. And somebody has money and somebody doesn't have money. And I'm not paying your kids' tuition and I'm not paying this. And now I can't get alimony if I get married. Maybe we won't get married. Maybe we'll delay. Maybe we'll. All the things that go into this. And everybody's weighing their options. Do I like you enough to give up my alimony? Because as soon as I get married, I don't get money. And then I don't have enough to pay my bills. And you don't have enough to pay my bills. And what are we going to do together? Right? It gets complicated. So tip number one, slow down. Make sure your relationship is solid enough to handle an extremely difficult time period. This is not a conversation. This is not a one and done. This is a knockdown, drag out conversation that might last multiple times. Take it in small doses. Set it up. Listen, want to talk about money and stuff. I only want to do it for 30 minutes. I'm putting my timer on. After 30 minutes, we are going to agree to stop, leave it where it is, and we're going to go have fun and smile. And we're going to bring the relationship back to balance. Okay. Maybe the next time, if we did an okay job, next time we can do it for an hour. Okay. And at the end of it, you have to always walk away going, what can we agree on from this conversation? There's going to be plenty that you disagree on. I don't want to know about it. You know what you disagree on. Tell me what you agree on, because we have to know where you're compatible. We have to know where you're like-minded, and we have to hyper focus on that, even if it's only really small, because the other things will tear a relationship apart because of money. And it takes so much effort to find a human being. You finally find the human being, and money is going to be what stops you? No, thank you. I'm not going to let it happen. So carefully, slowly, very slowly talk about it, and talk about it with your person first, the two of you, before you really deal with families. Now, for very younger singles who maybe don't deal with the money and the parents really do deal with it, if you're from a more religious community, maybe the parents are going to talk about it, and you guys, guess what? Zip the lips, say nothing, stay out of it, Sarah.
Wedding stuff, fine, but talk about finances.
Yeah, personal finances.
So
yes.
Little financial education in the Frum system. That's just the way it is. And then you have two little kids. I'm just kidding. You're not kids. But to
young adults getting married without
two
having the
adults
conversation.
who have no experience living on their own and paying bills and whatever. Talk about it now. It's so hard to go. There's a really strong likelihood that both of you have really come from really different experiences where the money stories are different and the way that money is handled is different. And the last thing you want is like your first month of marriage and you're like, we can't buy that. Yes, we can. No, we can't. Yes, we can. What? Like, talk about it before. And it doesn't mean you'll come to an agreement on everything at all, but at least you won't be shocked when you go grocery shopping for the first time together and it's all exciting and you want to take something and he's like, no, you can't, you know?
That costs too much. Buy the generic brand. I don't like generic. I only like the brand name one. Right. Okay. Okay. So I think we dug into it and we kind of went around a lot of different areas. I want to save time for plenty of questions, which I believe, do we have so many good questions? Okay. So we are going to dig into our questions, and you should just know this is an extremely complicated, touchy subject. If you walk away with one golden nugget of wisdom like this, you are glued together with your partner, the two of you. If you have something solid, figure the money piece out, hire somebody to help you, bring in a middle negotiator, somebody. If you can't do it on your own, bring in a money educator. Talk to Yael, who sponsored the webinar. Get somebody to support you so that you know what you're doing, because finding a great relationship is difficult. And making it work with money is even harder. Sarah?
I know. I would say, like, talk about that, what Aleeza just said, like talk about that before you ever end up in a situation where you're like, oh my gosh, everyone's trying to tell us what to do, or we don't know what to do. Like, have that conversation of, if anyone else starts getting involved in our finances, assuming it's appropriate, like we're going to stick together, even if we don't necessarily agree. We'll figure it out between us and then have a united front when it comes to them.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. So we're going to do the Q&A.
All right. We're going to start. Let's try to start rapid fire because we got a lot.
Okay.
Some of them are very similar and I might repeat them because this is such good information to hear. Okay. Speaking about dating, what if the woman spends money up front, like for example, parking her car? Should the guy offer to reimburse?
Okay. So I would say don't offer to reimburse. If you're reimbursing, just like slip her 10, just at the very end, like you're like, da, 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 and you're like, you know, so nice to see you, and like hand her something, but don't show her what you're handing her exactly. And she'll like receive it and be like, that's for parking. And then like, you know, and she might try to hand it back or
but
whatever.
Is that even if you came in 2 different cars and you just met like for the first time, like first dates, a lot of people meet up.
If you're not like walking her to her car, then you don't have to. If you're walking her to her car, it's just like an extra thing. She might not accept it, but even if she really just doesn't accept it, to know that you made that effort, brownie points.
And I'm going to say for the women, learn to accept it. It is
when
so
somebody gives you
hard.
a gift, say thank you. Put your hand out and say thank you.
Aleeza, that's probably one of the best things you taught me.
You're welcome.
I remember the first time my then boyfriend gave me money. Like we were both going to 2 different places last year, Rosh Hashanah, and I made him this really cute like package for the airplane. And gifts is not his love language at all. So like he didn't think of anything like that. And I gave him something and he felt so put on the spot and he's like, what? And he's like, he pulled out a bill and he's like, okay, this is for shliach mitzvah money, like to put in tzedakah when you get to wherever you're going. And then he handed me another one and he's like, and this is for food, buy yourself some food once you get inside the airport. And everything in me wanted to be like, no, that's okay. And I just had Aleeza's voice running through my head. Just take it and say thank you. Just take it and say thank you. Just take it and say thank you.
And how good did you
I'm
feel
doing
when
this
you
for
walked
Aleeza.
into but how good did you feel when you walk into the airport and you bought your meal and you were like, he's buying me my meal? Like that was so sweet, right? And you felt good. And in that moment, you made him feel good. Had you said no, he would have felt doubly bad. You did something for me and then you didn't let me do something for you. Right? Even if for him it was an afterthought, right? Yeah. Forget about the afterthought. Accept it. He had an afterthought, you know?
The fact that it was an afterthought is uncomfortable enough. And then to reject that afterthought is really awkward.
Right. Yeah. So good job for you. Good.
All right. During dating, you spoke about the man being a provider. What about during marriage? Does that same viewpoint hold?
Yeah, so we live in very interesting times. Modern day, it seems that we have to have 2 people working depending on people's backgrounds and earning potential. But to get by with all of the expenses, if you're having, you know, Jewish education for a family and children and things of that nature, in the States at least, it's very costly. Move to Israel, it's cheaper. Okay, just a little plug for Israel there. But I would say, if you're talking about a Jewish perspective, the Torah's perspective is that a man should, what is the quote? That he should earn bread by the sweat of his brow or something. Did I get it right?
Something like that.
Something like that, right? Which basically means he's supposed to be the provider. He's supposed to work hard to provide for the family, and that's his obligation. And I would say that it's common modern day for men and women to both be working. Sometimes the woman has more earning potential. I would just, again, have the conversation about money. How's this going to make both of you feel? What do you need to do to have a successful marriage? That's what I want to know. What do we need to do to be in a successful and healthy and long-term relationship together? Does this scenario work for us? If the answer is yes, great. If the answer is no, let's figure out a plan B.
Awesome. someone just submitted a question about bankruptcy. I want to ask it. Can you just add at what point in the relationship this was, and then we'll get to that question. Can you give a couple of examples of how to bring this conversation up in a tactful way?
Just start waving money around and be like, want to talk about money?
Bring your dollar bills.
Right. So if you're not in the relationship for long enough, it's not going to be the appropriate time, which is why you might not feel like it's a tactful way when you start to think. So a relationship usually goes like this. We meet, we get to know each other. We talk about things in the past and in the present, who we were, how we grew up, where we came from, and what's happening in our lives now. Then at a certain point in the relationship, we talked about everything. That's good. And then we start to like, well, what's the future look like? 2 years down the road, 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road. Oh, if we would get married, or what it might look like when I'm married, not we, maybe it's just me at the moment, right? And we start to have like what I call the mystical, magical thinking conversation. It's not anything from the past that was a reality that happened, not anything that it is a current reality. It's just a desire for the future. So as you get to this more developed part of your relationship, you could say, there's a lot of things in relationships that we talk about as we get further along. We probably haven't had any real money discussions yet, have we? No, like, I don't know, like, if, maybe we can talk about, finances and debt, bring up like all the generic categories, like finances and debt and future and, living in a home or an apartment or families supporting, like, let's have a little schmooze about that, and
is it mostly theoretical, or like if someone's in debt, are they saying, oh, I'm 150 grand in debt? Or is it more like, how would you handle your partner being in debt?
Yeah. So in the beginning, I would start theoretical. But if you're asking, how would you handle that? I'm going to assume that you're in debt. And it's probably just better that you tell me the number instead of, me thinking, oh my gosh, they owe $1 million. It's, like, again, you have to be developed in the relationship enough. I wouldn't start with heavy, like start with the lighter financial topics, and then slowly creep into debt and other things like that.
Awesome. Okay. So we've been talking on FaceTime for several weeks. He had a ticket to come visit me. I thought we had a good rapport. I was vulnerable with this man I was talking to, and I told him I was facing bankruptcy. He broke up with me the next day through a text and canceled his ticket. I thought we were pretty close, but I guess we weren't close enough. Does this mean he couldn't handle my situation, or was it my fault that I brought it up too soon?
It sounds like a couple of things. Probably too soon, number one. Number two, it wasn't done in person. Did it say via text or call? What did it say?
FaceTime. They've been FaceTiming for several weeks already.
And there was, I assume, maybe no in-person meeting yet. Right. This was like before. Yeah. So if you didn't even meet in person yet, then it was definitely too soon.
Really?
If
several weeks of FaceTime?
You never saw the person. They could walk into the room and you're like, I don't want to go out with you. Okay. And then that was wait a minute, that was none of their business.
Right.
They're not privy to this information unless you're close enough to be able to give this over. Number one. Number two, ideal, do it in person. Don't do it through video. Don't do it through texting. Don't do it through a voice note. Make sure that it's in person. COVID rules. Okay, if you're close enough and you've seen each other several times in person and now you're quarantined and you can't leave and you're already close enough that you have to say something. Okay, fine. So you're going to say something and it'll be over video. But make sure it's over video so you can see their facial reactions when you say that I claimed bankruptcy, and they're like, and they're in shock, or they're like, oh, okay. Like, are you okay now? Is everything okay? Like, I want you to see their facial reaction.
But I think we also need to acknowledge that if he's going to take that information, break up over text, and cancel his ticket, like,
it was too heavy. You can't.
Really?
It's like, no, it's. I mean, I don't think it's. I think it's too early and too heavy. Well, look, you could have still met in person, and he might have still later on said no, thank you.
Right.
But if you didn't see them in person, it's like, I'm not investing in you. Like, that's just too much. I don't want to deal with that. Once I meet you, if there's something here, if it's worthwhile, then it becomes relevant. It's not relevant until I know I like you. Like, I've met you in person and I know that I like you. That those have to come first. In the Aleeza method, you could get on a different webinar. Somebody will tell you different. If you don't like my advice, don't worry. Somebody will tell you something else. It's also true.
Awesome. All right. Is it still considered, is the standard still that wedding expenses should be more on the bride side of the family? I've heard that that's traditional, but things might be changing.
It is still traditional.
Yeah.
Secular, religious, Jewish, non-Jewish. It is
Really?
still traditional. It is. It is not a 50-50 split. It is still a traditional thing. Do people do it differently? Yes. In some families, because the groom side has more money than the bride side, do they pay for more? Sometimes yes. Sometimes it's like, look, the bride side says we have this much money to do a wedding, and the groom side said we're going to have something bigger. We'll pay the balance, right? That's important to me. But traditional across the board, across many cultures and people,
know this
secular
stuff.
and religious. What?
How do people know this stuff? I feel so ignorant.
I don't know. I do a lot of research on this stuff. I talk to a lot of matchmakers. I'm in a lot of dating and relationship groups, and we all have these conversations. So it is still traditional, but things are happening differently. Also, hello COVID. How about small, intimate weddings and not large things that are happening now? Things are happening very differently.
Not necessarily cheaper.
Yes, and if you can do it cheaper, Aleeza says, you can report this back to your family. Aleeza says, how much would you have normally spent on a wedding? Oh, you would have spent, pick the number, I don't care, this much, and we're spending less than half. The rest of that money goes to you, the bride and groom, and you, but it has to go towards not rent.
A house.
Go towards a deposit on a house. You may not use it for anything else. It is going to be part of a down payment. Even if you're not ready, it's your nest egg that is starting for your down payment on a house. You put it in a fund and you leave it and you don't touch it. Learned that from my dad. But we didn't do that for the wedding. I mean, just as kids, he saved our money. He put it away and put it away and put it away. And when I went to get married, the money was there. And he's like, this isn't for a car. This isn't for rent. This isn't just because. Figure out what you're going to do on Tuesday. Go get a job. This is not your money until you want to buy a house. I mean, it is your money, but you can't spend it until, like, he put that in my head, and I didn't spend it till I bought a house. And then I tell my kids, I was like, you like this wall? My money bought this wall. One of my kids told me, they're like, I used to think there was money in the wall. I actually started to
way.
I started to crack and chip at the wall to get inside of it, because you always said my money is in these walls.
That's so cute.
Right? But like, I meant, my money bought these walls, not that the money was in the walls, although many people hide money in walls. Yeah, it was really hysterical. It was in one of my kids' closets. They're like, remember that gigantic crack in the closet? And I was like, yeah, I was looking for the money.
That's so adorable.
It was so cute.
Follow-up question. What is common in terms of second weddings? Does the couple pay? Are the parents still involved? What's considered typical?
Such a good question. So in general, the couple usually ends up paying. The weddings are usually smaller. They're more intimate, and it's not a big to-do. That's if it's a second on both sides. If one side, it's a first wedding, and especially if it's the bride, and for the groom, it's a second wedding, it's still usually a big to-do. If it's the reverse, where it's the groom who is the first time and the bride who is the second time, it could vary. It might be just, a smaller and not as large affair, or it could be a bigger one.
Okay, so you mentioned the man bringing in bread by the sweat of his brow. Does a man need to provide bread, or must he also provide her with Chanel handbags, Louboutin heels, and a Range Rover? I feel like we have become such a materialistic society, and a man has such huge financial pressures. This is 100% why I'm still single. I make a nice living for myself, $50K a year, pays my rent, bills, car, food, and vacations. Why do women say no to me just because I'm not making six figures and don't have a financial plan that shows them security?
Okay, I love your question. So, while you are supposed to, earn bread by the sweat of your brow, she's actually supposed to make the bread. That's the challah. That's the other kind of dough. Okay, just a little play there for you. So I believe that bread really refers to food and shelter and clothing. That's in the ketubah, that's in the wedding document, that a man provides for a woman, and physical pleasures. Food, shelter, and clothing. Okay? Those are the things that are to be provided. So when you're like, oh, clothing, does clothing mean, diamond necklaces and fancy schmancy and Chanel handbags? So on one hand, I'm going to tell you, no, it doesn't mean that. And on the other hand, I'm going to tell you, we have to take care of people in the way that they need. Now, is that a real need? Is that not? I'm just going to tell you, you're not marrying a Chanel handbag lady. You're just not.
Someone just said he's getting set up with the wrong women.
Yeah, you're really getting set up with the wrong women. There are lovely, lovely, wonderful women who would be very happy to have somebody that has a stable job, that likes what they're doing, that is happy that he's going to be the provider and take care of the family. And if you're meeting those are not the only type of women that exist. I'm sorry that that's what you're meeting, but there's plenty of other people out there. And it doesn't mean also that we take care of somebody in a very skimpy or that we kind of like withhold finances, right? We want to be generous. We want to be giving, but we don't want the other person to take advantage. And we want to also live within our means. And if we're talking about this society that we live in today, we're all not really living within our means so well. It's a society that got out of control. And if you want to help yourself on this, The Minimalists is a great documentary that talks about this challenge that we face and how, like, it shows you an extreme of how to do things in a really minimalist way compared to how we are doing it. And just might shift your perspective and help you to live a little bit more comfortably with less stuff.
Can I just make a totally separate? No, I love everything you said. I kind of a separate point.
Yeah.
The truth is, I literally, I've spoken about money styles and spending styles and that kind of stuff with guys I've dated, but other than my husband, I've never spoken, like, we've never talked, how much money do you make? At first glance, when I saw the 50K a year, I'm like, for an Orthodox family, I don't know if you're Orthodox or not, but for an Orthodox family, 50K a year is not a lot. I don't know that you can cover expenses with that if you're paying for your kids' schooling, if you're, paying.
I'm gonna tell you how it works. At 50K a year, depending on how many kids you have, you start to receive things like, you won't believe it, but food stamps and SNAP and discounts on tuition, and you live off of the chesed of the community because the expenses are extremely high.
But I think, like, as a woman going into that kind of, it is a fair, it's an understandable hesitation if they feel like that's not going to provide the security that they're looking for. Now, obviously, everyone's growing and changing, and if there's conversation about this isn't necessarily our future forever, that's where the plan comes in. And so if you're saying I don't have a plan and there's not really any trajectory for growth.
Well, and I don't want to make a plan. Not having one is okay, but not wanting to make one as you're building a relationship with somebody isn't a healthy way to face finances. But I do want to say, if somebody has an earning potential of $50,000 and that's their earning potential, they're still getting married, they're still having a family, they're still going to have as many kids as they want to have and do what they're going to do. And like, you figure it out, you make it work. Maybe you rent and you don't buy a house, and maybe you get discounts on schools, and maybe you buy, like a used car and not a brand new car, and you take care of yourself and you get it done.
There's
It
options. There are states that have
I have 5 kids. Call me, I could teach you.
No, there are definitely options. I just wanted to make that distinction between, just because she doesn't want to go for a guy who makes 50 grand a year with no growth plan, that doesn't mean she's a Chanel handbag kind of girl at all.
And maybe she would go for a guy who's a 50K kind of guy with a plan.
100%.
So maybe just the shift is, let's have a plan. You earn what you earn, great, but what's your plan when you get married, and what does that look like? Because things do shift and change. You get a break on your taxes on one hand, you share expenses, right? So instead of having two places to rent, you end up having one place. And instead of paying a lot of double bills, you can even combine your cell phone bills and get a lower bill. And you can, like, there's so many things that you can combine. And at the same time, there's things that we still have to pay for and that are expensive.
And if you say, no, I'm happy with where I am and I have no plan, that's totally your prerogative to make that choice. Figure out how to have that conversation so that it doesn't come across in a way where you're like, sorry, that wall comes up and it's like, no, this is who I am and that's it. Tell her why this is your choice, because there's thought behind it, right? So have that conversation, and maybe either she might say like, okay, it's still not for me, or she'll be like, okay, I hear that perspective. Right. We could make it work together. Right. And someone, man plans and God laughs, so hard. Someone else just commented, many sources in Jewish tradition clearly say that God provides a husband more money after he gets married so that he can support his family. That's
yes.
Good.
Thank you for that quote. I love it.
Yeah. All right. Next.
And my Rebbitzin used to say that. We would say, like, when we were, having kids, and I was like, we don't even have enough money to support the kids that we have, and to have another one. She's like, don't worry, when you have the other one, then you get the money you need to take care of them too. I said, but I would like it now beforehand. She said, that's not how it works. It only comes when you actually need it. You don't need it beforehand. You only need it now. Yeah, she was very strict with me about that. She's very clear. She's very right. She's very right.
Okay, so you mentioned this, but you didn't actually talk about it, and we got several questions. So could you talk a little bit about when is it appropriate and when is it appropriate to talk about a prenup?
Financial prenup. So is it appropriate and when is it appropriate? So this is a complicated answer, right? If you are in, again, let's say a second marriage or a different complicated situation, prenups are more common. If you are coming from a very wealthy background, prenups are more common. Often people, again, do have trust funds or things that are specifically in somebody's name that are protected anyway, even if there's not the prenup, like it's still not coming to the other partner. And it's very difficult. Some people also have family businesses, right? Like, this is the family business. That's not left to you. Even if they're not here, that goes to the other siblings. And so for all of those reasons, it's very complicated. Should you have one? Shouldn't you have one? I don't really want to answer that, because on one hand, I want to say we really should know and love and trust our partner enough that we don't need that. And on the other hand, I want to say, well, there's the reality of life, and there's things that people want to make sure that people aren't marrying somebody and pretending to be somebody just to get at their money, right? So when should you have that conversation? When you're really sure this is your person. When you've had like dozens of other money conversations and you still like each other and you're really thinking about going to the chuppah, and it's like, look, but on my side, my family or me or what I believe is that we need to have a prenup, and it's for, your protection and my protection, and that you have what you have, and like, maybe, you have this and you have that, but when we come together and we get married, so we will also have joint bank accounts, and we will also learn how to spend our money together. And there might be things that might be separate and might be outside of that realm. I'll tell you personally, when we got married, this wasn't a conversation that we had. And I had this money that we saved, that my mother and father helped me to save, and was in the bank. And it had only, at the time, because it was created when I was a minor, it had my name on it, and then it had my father's name on it as the custodian of the account. I got married at 25 and it still had his name on the account. We never took it off. And then at one point, I think I just left it there for a while. And then when we went to buy our house, I was like, hey, Dad, I think I need you to sign a paper. Like, I need my money, and I think your name is still on it. And I never put my husband's name on it, but it wasn't because I wanted or didn't want. It just was like paperwork that was annoying to deal with. And then we took it and we put it in the house. And I didn't put it in the house and sign a contract that said, this portion of the house is mine and this portion is yours, and family helped us out and all of
walls.
Yeah, right. Like, let's crack open all of Aleeza's walls because there's money in them. I know what I also used to say? I was like, you know what? My bat mitzvah money paid for that wall, like my birthday, when I had big birthday, oh, that was from grandpa, that wall over there.
That's awesome. I just, can I say something on my behalf, not as representative of Aleeza? I feel really, really, really strongly about halachic prenups. I don't have experience with regular.
Right, but that's not this. That's different. If we're talking about there's a financial prenup versus a halachic prenup.
Prenup is a financial.
I know, but no, it's different.
It's a combination.
Okay, so my understanding was that the halachic prenup was to make sure that if there was a divorce, that you could not get civilly divorced without also that a man couldn't withhold a get. That was the purpose of the halachic prenup. It was the purpose. So the purpose is correct. The purpose is not a financial thing. So I just wanted to separate those two things.
Right. Yes. And okay. I
think they're two different things. The halachic prenup is a halachic prenup that is about making sure that a woman is not an aguna and that she does have the ability, which is considered a chained woman who cannot receive a get because a man won't give her a get.
You have the option to add on. So it's you're right. The goal is this, but
yeah, I think usually people, money people do a financial one separately. They're not together, I don't think.
Okay, I'm just saying separate from that, then get a halachic prenup.
And if you don't know what it is,
if you're not gonna get a regular prenup, get a halachic.
If you don't know what it is, you can Google it and find out about it.
Okay. Next up, so we have a few different questions similar, but if a woman needs to marry someone well off, how would she bring that up?
Before you go out with somebody, bring it up to the matchmaker, look online when they say they're earning, what they earn. I wouldn't, if you want a certain somebody, find them first. Don't ask them on the date. It's a little too late.
Do I need to worry about disclosing my financial situation?
Yeah, not worry about it. I don't need you to worry about it. I just need you to do it at the point that you're comfortable and you're close enough that it becomes relevant.
Okay. How do I not look desperate for financial support?
Don't talk about it all the time. Read a lot of books about finances, about money, about emotions around money, and so that you can get comfortable with the conversation. Listen to podcasts or audios on it. Start to pre-hear and pre-listen to a bunch of things before you start talking with somebody. Otherwise, you're going to figure out what you want to say and how you feel in the middle of a conversation, and it's not going to go so well. So have those conversations before you start dating and talk to other people and learn about it. Talk to a financial planner, have one of those meetings. Don't wait for the first time to be when you're, together with your spouse and all of a sudden now you're going to think about a financial planner.
Awesome. So follow up to the 50K gentleman. I make $57K a year, no student loans ever, some stock, not much. I'm going to try to apply for higher level jobs at my workplace next year. We'll be doing career development program at work starting in January. Does that sound like a reasonable plan? Yes. Don't say you don't have a plan. That's a plan.
check. Well done.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay, so question, and this came in both standard and for second marriages. So if you could address both, should finances be separated? At what point should they be joined? Is there any time to maintain separate accounts?
That's a really good question. So when a couple gets married, I like that your name is on both accounts, like both of your names are on it, that they're joint accounts. God forbid something happens to one of you, it's in that person's name, the other person can't access it. What if they need that to take care of you, right? If I'm the one that pays the bills and only my name is on this account and I am incapacitated in some way, God forbid, then what can my husband do for me, right? That's where the money goes and that's where it's auto deposited and that's where things happen. So I like when couples have things in joint accounts with both names on it. I've seen some people do this in different ways. Either they both sit down together and they both pay the bills and it's like out of their one bill account. Sometimes he'll have an account. Everybody's names are on both, but he spends out of this account, she spends out of that account, and this account is dedicated towards our bills. Right now we're making Aliyah, so we have our Aliyah account, and I have my regular bill account, and I have my what I used to call my miracle account, which was to help pay for this house. And so like there were all these different ways of separating the finances out so that it was easier to manage it and not just see, a lump that's in there and not really know where it's being allocated or going. You can also have like savings accounts and do that. But I like when things are joint, when both names are on it, because you never know when you're going to need the other person to help you manage or deal with something. I also do think this whole joint thing, like that old time, everybody's names, like we're one, we're running in this world together as one couple, one unit. Where we go and what we do, we're tying ourselves and binding ourselves together. That's
so how would you respond to someone who says, no, I've been working for the last 40 years, let's say specifically in a second marriage, I want a step, like, how do you have that conversation?
So you can talk about having different accounts where can we have a bill pay account, and can we have like I might have my account from previously, my savings that's there and things that I'm holding on to, and maybe even at the beginning of the marriage I'm not yet ready to have both of our names on that. I've seen couples where there was one couple many years ago where the husband insisted that not only should he put his name on her savings accounts, but he was going to be in charge of investing it and doing everything that he was going to do with that. And she started to have a panic attack because she had worked very hard to save all of that. She had it invested where she wanted it to go, and she didn't want him to take it and move it and do something with it. It was, where it was. And so if you're in a healthy relationship, you need to have these conversations. It's not just, oh, well, that's what I'm going to do, and this is what we do in a marriage, because then you're not going to be married anymore. You're going to get divorced. And by the way, they did get divorced. So I don't recommend handling things like that. And if it doesn't happen up front where you have your name on joint accounts, or maybe it doesn't happen, maybe you have our money, right? We start our lives together now. So now we have our money together going forward. But what was remains separate. Sometimes people have done that, but you just have to have a conversation about it, and you have to see where everybody holds.
Awesome. How important is it to be on the same page as your partner in terms of spending money on your own business enterprise? I love this question so much. I have what to say, but I'll let you answer first.
Yeah. So if they're not in your business or on your business, you're life partners, but you're not business partners. And so it's yours to run. Other people might have different opinions on this. My mother was an entrepreneur. My father was an entrepreneur. My husband is an entrepreneur. I'm an entrepreneur. We all work for ourselves. And we seek guidance and support from each other, but what we actually do and how we spend the money within the business, we leave up to each other. But I might seek his advice, or he might seek mine, but I'll never tell him, oh, you can't do that. Or he won't say that to me. He might say, well, that's probably not the smartest thing you've ever done. But really, we leave it up to the person whose business it is.
I like that.
I think, and if his name was on my business and it really was like our business, even if
really?
Even if his name only was on my business, actually, because the business that he's in, when we got married, my name, both of our names are on it. So my name is officially on it, but he really runs the business. I could say like, well, listen, I'm, part owner or part this, or, like a vice president of the company. And so I have, my opinion here. But I still think that you have the president and the vice president. So even if I add an opinion, I'm not the president of the company. He still chooses what to do with everything.
Yeah. On a technical, practical level, I think obviously part of the conversation is how much money are you going to be bringing to the family income, right? Assuming you're both it's a dual income or whatever. I personally use the profit first model for my business. If you're a business owner, you should check it out. But the way I structure any income is that.
Can you tell us where do you find that, or what is
Profit First is a book. I will tell you really quickly who it's by.
Carly will look it up for us.
Okay, great.
Carly, Profit First.
Essentially, as soon as the money comes in, I'm I'm tithing, I'm putting money aside for taxes, so I'm not scrambling
Okay,
later.
tzedakah first. You donate to charity, 10%. Great. Well, you have to do the net. It's on the net. But okay.
No, it's not. Tzedakah.
Yeah.
Tzedakah's on the net.
Tzedakah's
Yeah, I like to do it on the I'm just cool like that. I just like to do it on the oh my God, what's the other word? Not net, gross. But you definitely don't have to. That is true. So I put aside my tzedakah money. I put aside a certain percentage for taxes, and I put a certain percentage aside for expenses. And then I give myself a salary. And so anything that I put aside for business, my husband couldn't care less what I do with it. I'm the one who knows what's going on in my business. And I mean, he trusts me to make those decisions, but even if he didn't, like, what would he do? But I think it's different than saying, oh, any money that comes in from my business is mine to mess around with, when there's an expectation that I need to help provide for this family, if that's the expectation.
Right. And some people have, depending on the financial situation, one person's income is what my mom would call mush money. It's like, it doesn't go towards the bills. It's the mush money you use for whatever you want, a little mush here and there. And, you mush it all together and, oh, you got a few bucks. It was her mush money. So if it's your mush money and you feel like going to buy patio furniture, then go buy patio furniture. But the other thing is, recently I was speaking with somebody and they said, we're trying to figure out what to do. And, when my income is the mush money and it goes towards like the fun, entertainment, the holidays, the other stuff, they're like, I spend it a little bit too easily when it starts to come in. And I said, great, then here's what we're going to do. Your salary goes towards expenses. The other person's salary goes toward much money because they're more responsible with it. And anything that's left over from the expenses, if you have a little bit here and there, you could spend, but you don't get to, like, when you go to spend, you have to spend a little bit more together so that you're not overspending.
Nice. I like that. As a woman who is uncomfortable with the man's work, how can I bring this up for discussion? Is it negotiable?
When say the beginning part again.
As a woman who is uncomfortable with his work, I just want to know what the stripper is. That allowed? Am I allowed to say that on here? I'm uncomfortable with his work. I don't know what he does.
Right. Yeah, it might be what he does, or it might be how much he earns. But if you don't like things about him, like, how are you going to like him? I don't know how it's going to work. How does that work? Yeah, I don't. If you're uncomfortable with what he does, you're uncomfortable with what he does. Either you've got to get over it, or what are you going to do? Make him get a new job? I don't know that that's going to happen. Is that going to happen? I don't fully understand let's go to the next question. Okay. Next. If you want to clarify, you can, send a new.
All right. Question. Can you talk about, again, both for a first-time marriage and a second-time marriage, just give some insight, guidance on when you have a spender and a saver?
God's so funny like that. God loves to put the spenders and the savers together. So figure out which one you are, because you're probably going to marry the other kind. Sometimes he puts two spenders together, and sometimes he puts two savers together. But
wait, hold on. Two savers sounds like a boring life.
No, they bankroll a boatload of cash. They usually live comfortably but modestly, and they don't ever have problems with money.
That's fair.
Seriously. Yeah. So two spenders together is a little bit hard because you guys don't keep each other in check. You're like, let's go on that vacation, and oh my gosh, let's get that new car, and oh, I think we should paint something around here, and we need this furniture's a couple years old. Let's get more furniture. It's really hard. So just to keep each other in check. The harder thing is, though, when you have a spender and a saver, and when I think that you are constantly wasting money because you're the spender and I'm the saver, and I think that you are throwing and flushing money down the toilet and wasting, and I'm so irritated because I worked so hard to earn it and you worked hard to earn it, and now, like, poof, it's gone in a minute. And the spender is like, Don't you understand? We need these things to live, and we want to live more comfortably. These provide us more comfort in life. This is better for us. We're going to enjoy life more. What are we working so hard for if not to enjoy it, right? So what you need to do, whatever you are, you need to learn and get into the mindset of the opposite. If you are a spender, I want you to hyper focus on learning what it means to be a saver. I want you to learn the principles of being a saver. I want you to learn the personality type, why people are like this. I want you to understand what goes into being that type of human being. And if you're a spender, if you're a saver, I want you to learn about being a spender. I actually want you to like practice splurging and buying something like a little more extravagant and trying to actually enjoy it and not making yourself crazy, because you're going to live with somebody who's going to start to do that. And you have to start to get comfortable with it. And you usually both come like a little bit closer to center, but you still remain who you are. And you usually live your lifetime like that. By the way, savers always pay the bills. Spenders don't. Bill money comes first and spender money comes later. Okay. It just might mean sometimes a saver doesn't actually spend, but the truth is the savers don't enjoy spending. They enjoy saving. Paying the bills is okay, but they enjoy putting the rest away. So like, it's like pay the bills and then you want to be a spender and I'm going to take my portion and I'm going to be a saver and I'm going to put it away because that's what makes everybody happy. And then the saver's thinking, yeah, but I'm saving for both of us and you're saving for nobody. And the spender's thinking, I'm helping to enjoy life for both of us and you're enjoying nothing right now. You're going to enjoy later. And so the spender spends to enjoy now and the saver saves to enjoy later. And that's why you are a beautiful couple together. And when you struggle, to smile and think of Aleeza and be like, I could do this. I could do this.
Awesome. In terms of spending and saving goals, how much financial agreement should you have before marriage?
As much as possible, because it's so much harder when you get married. So it's great to know I earn this and you earn that, and here's our expenses, and make up a made up expense chart at first, you know, rent, car, gas, food, fun, clothing, everything that you're going to need. Get an expense sheet and just Google it and find out all the different categories, and realize also some things are going to be cut in half. Like instead of both paying rent out of your, right, you're now going to pay one. And just figure these things out beforehand, have a plan, and then things are not going to go your way. You know why? Because that's called life. And so what you're going to do is have a plan, and then you're going to pivot. And then that plan, it's also not going to go your way. So you know what you're going to do? You're going to pivot. And when that plan fails, pivot. Right. You got it. That's what we're going to do, because we are going to be super flexible. The one that wins in this game of life is the one that is the most flexible to handle whatever comes their way.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, let's get 3 to 4 more questions in really quickly. Number 1,
Rapid.
who pays for the wedding when there are no parents?
Right. So if there are no parents and there's no money between either of you, then the community usually does. Or if there are no parents and the money there, if there's money they left you, some parents leave money for weddings, some parents don't have money for weddings. You know, again, if there's nothing there, then there's community funds to help you. And if you don't know what those things are or where they might be available in your community, in the more observant communities, you can look for kala funds. In the more traditional, you know, or secular communities, you can look for, you know, wedding funds or things of that nature, or talk to your local rabbi or federation or things of that nature. The community will support you. We will help marry you off. Awesome. With pleasure and joy.
Thank you. I think this is a perfect segue for the next question. Can you talk for a minute about saving as a single?
Okay, I love this. Basically, just, my mom would also say this, squirrel your money away. You know, like squirrels in the winter, they like collect all their nuts and they dig, and they like put them there and they like, you know, and then they come back later for it when they need it. Put all of your money away as much as possible. How do you do that? You play a little game, you know, like we play board games and we play Monopoly. Yeah, this is the game of how little can I spend and how much can I save. And so if I can call my phone company and get a better rate on my phone bill and reduce it by $20, and that $20 can go to savings, that's a win. And if I can call my electric company and find something out, or lower my electric by 2 degrees where I save also $20, and that can go there. And we just play this little game of put as much away as possible, because you are really going to need it. And have your money for tzedakah, give to charity, and have your entertainment budget. Have your fun, have your vacation or your trip or your day out or your hotel chill, whatever. Put a fun together. When I went to Israel, I actually had when I was younger, before I went to Israel and before I was married, I worked over the summer and I had this plan. I'm going to go to Israel for the year and I need to save up my money, and how much do I need? And I did this whole, calculation, and I decided I needed about $3,000, plus I needed like more than that for fun and entertainment and other things. So I brought, my $3,000, and I literally divided out by how many weeks I was going to be there. I had a spreadsheet and I had the amount of weeks, and I put down that I was taking out 200 shekel a week, which was about, at that time, $50 a week. And at a certain point, I was like, well, Aleeza, that's a very nice plan, but we're going to have to pivot, because you know what? $50 a week isn't enough. Like, I just bought, my toilet paper, and I just bought my snacks, and I bought this, and like, I don't have money to buy a coffee. I don't like coffee. I like tea, but I didn't have leftover money. And I was like, okay, well, you're going to run out of money. So sometimes I would take like my extra, I would take, from my 200 shekel, I'd take 300 shekel this week. But then next week I was only allowed to take 100. And then at a certain point, I was like, you've got to get a job. So I started teaching English, and I started getting more money, and I was like, oh, this is good. And then I saved for my trip, and I took 2 trips while I was there, and I had to come up with a new plan. And my new plan, it wasn't working to spend less. I was really spending as little as I could. I just did not plan properly for what I needed. So I really had to work more. And that's what happened. And it worked out great. But I love my spreadsheets. I love my money spreadsheets.
I love that. Thank you. One more question. What if there was a significant income disparity between you and your significant other?
Yeah. So between 2 people, it's difficult. You have to have really hard conversations. The one who has money has to understand that it's very uncomfortable for somebody who doesn't come from wealth to be around somebody who does come from wealth, and what that means, and their spending habits, and it just,
or even if they
weird.
Didn't necessarily come from wealth, but develop that.
Right, develop that. It's weird. Slowly have the conversations. And again, like I said, both sides should really learn about what it means to be like the other side, so that you can just, like, for a minute, close your eyes, step into their shoes. What if I was like this? And maybe even do a role reversal, have a conversation from the opposite way, where I'm pretending I'm the wealthy one and you're the one that doesn't have enough, and feel how it feels to have that conversation and go through it. Do the reverse role play. And I think it will help you to build an understanding and to bridge the gap in communication, and to have these really difficult conversations. I also just want to say one more thing on a different topic that somebody mentioned, which is about investing. Like, I don't know how to invest money. What if I want to start to learn about savings and not saving, but like investments in the marketplace and the stock market and whatever I'm doing. So number 1, you could go to a financial planner and start to learn from them. Number 2, you could use an app on your phone, and the app on your phone, you can like buy and sell stocks, but it's fake, totally fake. It's just like, like, yeah, you can do like fake investing where you're putting in fake money, because it's like practice. You're just seeing how it works, and what if I put $20 here? What if I put $100 here? What if I put $1,000 here? What if I put $5,000 here, and watch the market and see what happens? So you can use investing apps like that. And if you want to do it like for real and just like dip your, pinky toe in the water, and you want it quick from your phone. So I'm just going to tell you a quick and unique thing that doesn't happen, but like, it was like one of those moments. There is an app on your phone, and if you want a connection to it, I'll send you something, because they'll send you like a free stock. It's called Robinhood, and somebody sent this to me a year and a half ago, and maybe longer than that, something like that. And they said, "Oh, I'm just practicing. I'm starting to invest. I mean, not much, $100 here and $100 there." And I'm like, "You're not really going to earn anything." They're like, "I know, but I just want to practice." I said, "Okay." And they're like, "Here, I'm going to send you my code and I'm going to send you my link. You're going to get a free stock and I get a free stock. And you can even get, like whatever, Apple or this or that." And I was like, "Okay, nice, whatever." And he sends me the link. And in order to do it, they do make you hook up your bank account because you pay them or they pay you or whatever. And I hook everything up and it like, pick which one you want, present number 1 or 2 or 3. And I pick it and it like pops up with like balloons and it's all excited. And it's like, you just won 1 share of Apple valued at $198. And I quickly took a screenshot and I texted him and I was like, "This is a scam." I was like, "What is this?" And he wrote back, "No, this is for real. You got 1 share of Apple." And I was like, and he writes back, he goes, "I got," and I forget what he said. He goes, "It's worth $4.03. He said, "I recommend it." He goes, "You were like the one in, however many 50,000 people that got that 1 share of Apple." And by the way, Apple went up like a lot since a year and a half ago. I don't know if you know, but that 1 share, it went up to like $500 or something. I don't know.
Way.
It's crazy. It's crazy. So I got this free stock and now I was dabbling. And so I like was watching the market and I tried one thing and I like put $100 here. I didn't do a large thing. I just wanted to practice investing with very small things. And now I decided, you know what? How about if I just put $150 a month in there and I'll pick different stocks to follow and do like small investments. $150 is a small thing to do. And then I'm like, do the math of how much $150 is over 12 months and how much money will be there if everything doesn't tank, So it was my little way of like dipping my pinky toe in and trying something. So anyway, if you want to try to win your free stock and be a part of this, you can. And I can send you my link and maybe you'll be the next Apple winner. And
Can we put that
also
in the
have a share.
email, in the replay email?
Yeah, we can mention it and I'll give you, I don't know if I guess it's a link. I'll look on my app and I'll tell you.
That's hilarious.
It's really funny. Okay, so do we need to wrap up?
Yes, we do. I'm just going to say a couple people I see here put not links, but names of books that they found really helpful in the chat box, and I'm adding another one that was life-changing for me.
Okay.
So
okay, great.
Just why not? And then, yes, sorry, someone else found it. It's The Profit First is by Mike Michalowicz. So good.
It's already in there. Carly put it in there.
I know.
But it's probably way up. Okay, great. And there is, I see in our group that somebody's here who is an investor who's recommending some things there. So write those books down because these people know what they're talking about. Okay, so I want to do 2 things. One is I want to tell you a little bit about us, and then I am bringing our sponsor on, Yael, so that you can meet her because you're going to love her. She is spicy and flavorful, the Jewish Latin princess. So first of all, I am Aleeza Ben Shalom, and we have a team of coaches, and we absolutely love helping singles to get over their hurdles and under the chuppah. We have many different ways to do that. We have these free, amazing webinars. I have tons of articles and things online. I have DIY programs like Daters Academy that you can do individually and work your way through it, or we have coaches. And if you want, you can go to marriagemindedmentor.com right now, and you can sign up for a free 15-minute session to talk to one of our coaches. Now, this is not like, oh, I just want to schmooze with a coach because, maybe one day down the road I'll talk. No. You're calling us to interview us because you're thinking, hey, I might want a coach and I'm not going to pay you unless I know you. So let me talk to you. Okay. And if you're thinking, Aleeza, well, you've got like 5 different coaches and they each do like something different. How do I know which coach to call? Call me. Go to my 15-minute intro call and I will direct you to the right coach. We have individual sessions that range anywhere from $75 to $250, depending on which coach you work with. And there's no commitment. You just like work for a session and you're done. Great. You could work for 5 sessions. It doesn't matter to us. We're here for you the whole way through it. And then we also offer coaching packages, whether people sign up for a 1-month package, a 3-month package, and those range in price anywhere from $750 to $4,000. And I can tell you all about it. If you're thinking like, oh, I'd really love coaching, but like I don't have the money to do this now. This is a money webinar. No problem. Tons of free content on our website. Tons. So just go to marriagemindedmentor.com, find it. We are helping you in any way possible. And do I need to bring on Yael? And because you don't have, I have host, right? Hang on. We're bringing on Yael because I am so excited. Yael, I am promoting you to panelist, and let's see if we can get you on. I might have to make you host to get your video. Let's see. Unmute.
I'm on.
Are you able to turn your, but are you able to turn your video on, or
No,
it won't let you?
not. I'm trying, but I can't yet.
Okay, no. Here we go. Make host. Okay, so and now just throw host back to me once you get your video on.
There I am. It's so great to be here.
I am so happy. So everybody, this is Yael Chush. She is the Jewish Latin princess. She has wisdom beyond wisdom about money and how to save and how to talk about it. And wait. And she has something free for us because it's her money date worksheet, which is phenomenal. It is so fun. It's not even like it's like, oh, it's great content. It's like great entertaining content. Like I would even do it just for the fun of it.
Yep.
Okay.
First of all,
tell us more. Tell us.
I'm so excited to be here, and I'm so excited for everybody who joined my friend Aleeza, because this is the most important topic, as in my humble opinion. I mean, if you're going to get married, you have to learn to talk about money, because guess what? You're going to be talking about money for the rest of your life. And you want those conversations to be positive conversations that unite you as a couple and that get you to where you want to be, and that they are productive. And you want your money to be this beautiful resource that you both have together to build the life that you want and to fulfill God's mission for you and for this new home, this new family, which is the most important thing for the Jewish people. So, I mean, it couldn't be more awesome that everybody came here to hear Aleeza about this. So yeah, I'm going to leave you guys with a free resource where you can learn how to have what I call a money date, which is a scheduled time on your calendars as a couple. And I'm sure you guys went over, how we start doing this even when we're dating and really getting serious. But when we're married, it's something that has to happen regularly, and it should be something that is sacred, and it's your space where you can open up about money. And it's not just about the numbers, it's about our values, it's about what do we want to achieve together. And so what's interesting, and I'm sure maybe you guys touched upon it, I'm sorry I wasn't here earlier, but we don't often learn much about personal finance, not just the technical part. And I heard a lot of books that I highly recommend just now when I jumped in. So I'm happy that you guys are jotting those down. But also we don't learn that money's a lot more than just the technical part. It's very emotional. And we both in a couple come with an entirely different money story. And once we get married, we really want to create our own new story. But in order to do that, we have to understand what's my story and what's your story, and what do we want to keep and what do we want to let go of, and how do we do that together. So I highly encourage everybody to keep learning about this, keep learning about money, keep learning about your money mindset, start talking more openly about money, be mindful of your language, the language that you use. I also have a free Facebook group that you're all welcome to join. Well, it's actually for the women in the group, and I know there's men here, but it's Jewish Money Matters. So you can find it. It's a private Facebook group where we talk all about money from a Jewish perspective. And my money date guide, should I give them the link now, Aleeza? You want to?
Yeah, tell us the link. Yeah.
Okay, so put it on the chat later. It's jewishlatinprincess.com/money date. And it walks you through the structure of really solid money dates that you're going to be having all throughout your marriage. It gives you a really good way to kind of go through the process of having money dates with your spouse.
Amazing. So the money date link that we have, which is jewishlatinprincess.com/money date, is for men. For women, it's for everybody. And the group on Facebook, which is called
Jewish Money Matters.
Jewish Money Matters. That is just for the ladies.
Yeah.
Because it's a women's group. Yael does a lot of intense, money work also with a lot of women, English speakers and Spanish speakers. You even have a whole program.
The whole gamut.
Phenomenal.
And by the way, guys, when you download this money date guide, even if you're single, go through it yourself. It's really helpful for yourself if you're single now to start doing these exercises, to start lifting the fog. If there's a little bit of fog, if you're not really in touch with your finances, if you don't really know what's driving your financial behaviors in certain ways, it's really important to start doing this. And sometimes I have couples that they're not ready to do this process together, but she gets started. And once she gets started, then she can bring them in, as because it is a process. So definitely applies to singles and definitely obviously to married people. So go for it.
Amazing.
Start and send me an email and ask me questions and let me know how it's going.
Amazing. Where can they reach you?
Very easily. Yael@JewishLatinPrincess.com.
Great. Okay. Yael, thank you so much for sponsoring this webinar.
Thank you for doing this. This is the most important thing that we could be doing to build Jewish marriages. So, kol hakavod.
Thank you. And we're so glad that you're here with us. I was going to wrap up and tell everybody, Sarah, don't leave, Yael, just because I think you're host and I don't want the whole webinar to disappear, but Sarah, will you just read out a few of the books that are in the chat for anybody on the recording so that they don't miss out on it? Because there's a whole bunch of things that I think came up that were really awesome.
Yeah, I'm going to start with my two, and I apologize in advance for the language. You Are a Badass at Making Money by Jen Sincero. Get Rich Lucky Bitch by Denise Duffield Thomas. And then I'm seeing also Jeremy Siegel, Stocks for the Long Run, A Random Walk Down Wall Street, and I just pulled that up, but I forget who it's by. And Your Money or Your Life by Vicki Robin.
Okay, phenomenal.
And it looks like those are all Yael approved. So
yeah. And somebody mentioned Profit First, right? When I walked
that was
in.
me. Yeah.
Must read, guys. Very
Profit
good.
First by Mike McAllowitz.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Okay, thank you everybody for coming. Thank you again, Yael. Thank you, Sarah. Carly, we love you. Thank you for being in the chat with us for all of these months. It has been a tremendous blessing to all of us to have you guiding us with us. And so we wish you all the best in your next adventure and where you're headed. And to everybody who's here with us, we will see you not next week. Next week is actually Hanukkah. Is that where we're at? Hanukkah. So we will send you out the date of the next webinar. We will send you the replay. And if you want other replays, just go to Marriage Minded Mentor /webinars. We've got like over 25 or maybe up to 30, or you can go to our YouTube page. I don't know we'll send it out in the email. But you can go to the YouTube page and subscribe to the channel, because every time we upload new content, you're going to get it. And it's fabulous. And it's free. Like, why wouldn't you take it? I'm not even charging you. So we are so happy you were all here. Thank you so much for joining us. And we will see you another time. And you should please get married soon. Don't come back and see us. That's fine. We don't mind. All right. All the best, everybody. Have a great night.